And welcome back to All Day Happening. A little earlier today, this morning, there was a civil lawsuit that was working its way through the courts. This is challenging Minnesota's transgender athlete policy in girls' sports. So there's a group called Female Athletes United, and they are suing the Minnesota State High School League, several leaders of state agencies, including Attorney General Keith Ellison. And today's hearing was seeking an injunction to basically block athletes assigned male at birth from participating in girls and women's sports. They're citing concerns from 3 metro area school softball players. So joining me now to talk a little bit about that and then also about a lawsuit that he just filed yesterday against TikTok is Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be with you, Amy. Thank you.
Sure. And I understand there's gag orders involved in this particular case that I was just talking about. So I know you can't talk too specifically about that, but I think I can ask you, why is it so, important for you to be vocal about this, to fight for this in the way that you have been, when some people might say, well, it's only affecting, 1, 2, 3 people, maybe at most. We don't even know how many people this is affecting. Why keep fighting?
Well, it is true that the number of transgender athletes is very, very small, infinitesimally small. But that is exactly why we must fight for them, because if we don't, that would mean we would be participating in scapegoating. It would mean that we would be allowing some of the most vulnerable people in our society to be bullied and persecuted simply because they were a small minority group. That's not the American way. We believe in the Equal Protection Clause of the United States Constitution. We believe that everybody has a right to their individuality. We believe that everybody should be treated fairly and justly. And so we're not saying that it's just a small group of people is never going to be an excuse to discriminate against anyone.
Yeah. And you've been on our show, you've talked about it, there are lawsuits that are kind of working their way through the courts right now. And then of course there's the state law, Minnesota state law on this issue. And then there's the federal law, of course. And there's just, we don't have the time to sort of lay all of that out right now because it's very, very complicated for a lot of people. But do you foresee us coming to some sort of a place where there's some kind of either compromise or some resolution to this at some point where we do, figure out, are we following the federal guidelines? Are we following state here in Minnesota?
Well, there sometimes is this area of conflict of laws, but this is an area where state law should prevail. And we are cooperating with federal law. We are consistent with federal law. So I think, there will be a resolution, and the resolution will be on behalf of civil rights for people, all people. Liberty and justice for all does include transgender people. So that's how I think it's going to be resolved. But Amy, let me just remind your viewers, there was a time in our country when the idea of 2 people of the same sex getting married seemed like an impossibility, and it seemed like something way out and far out. Now that it's been the law for many years now, it's just not that controversial. Interracial marriage used to be super controversial. Now it isn't. I think that once we get used to equal rights for all, I think we will, as a society, not view this moment as controversial as some might right now.
Yeah, and I have to say that people on the other side of this issue will say, well, what about the girls and women's rights, the ones that are trying to compete? And so that's, they're going to want to know, what do you say to that?
Yeah, that's a fair point to raise. What I will say is that in baseball or softball, it's a team sport. All kinds of people are playing. There are multi reasons and different levels of ability by all the athletes. And to say that because a transgender girl played, somehow somebody was disadvantaged, that's just not true. And it's just not an accurate portrayal. I would ask everybody to ask themselves this question. If you feel that sports taught you teamwork, taught you fair play, taught you how to be persistent and have grit. And I will say, as a former student athlete, I certainly learned those things from sports. Why would we want to exclude any group of kids from that? We're saying that all kids, like 99.99% of them can get the benefit of athletic participation, except those trans kids. I just think that's wrong. And I guess the courts will settle it, but I'm confident in our position.
Okay. Thank you for just kind of commenting on that as much as you can. And I wanted to talk to you because yesterday you filed a pretty big lawsuit, created a lot of waves. You're joining other states who have done the same thing, but some of the words you used when describing TikTok and what you believe to be the abuses of TikTok, I think really stood out to a lot of people. So tell us, I guess, exactly what this lawsuit entails in sort of as layman's terms as you can for us to understand. What are you going after here?
Well, we're suing TikTok because their addictive algorithm is basically digital nicotine. They have constructed this algorithm in a way that really taps into the brain science of people to make people, particularly young people, have to keep coming back to it. It has this thing called endless scroll, which is one of the features, meaning you never really quite get down to it. If you scroll all night, you can scroll all night and into the next day. They feed you things that they think that will be of interest to you to make sure that you keep on clicking, keep on watching, stay attuned. They also have failed to comply with Minnesota law to register. They have to get a license and make disclosures and submit to examinations by the Minnesota Department of Commerce because they're engaged in money transactions, and virtual currency business activity. And what happens there is that when they go TikTok live, they have a feature where you can give the person money if that person likes what they're doing. But in order to do that exchange, you have to be registered to make sure that there's no exploitation, no trafficking behavior, and they have not done that. So we're suing them. Just so people know, we're not trying to shut down TikTok. We're trying to make TikTok get right and be responsible. And I'll tell you, all of these features that we're suing TikTok over, these features, there are answers to and protections for in China, just not in the United States. So in the country where TikTok emerges from, they recognize the dangers of the product and they take appropriate steps to protect their children. They just say it's the wild, wild west in the U.S. and they're making money off of it, so they're going to keep doing it. But we're not going to let them because it's wrong.
Yeah.
And so we want parents to know that if they got stories about how their children or somebody in their life has been abused by TikTok or addicted by TikTok, they can reach out to us. And we certainly hope that they do. You can go to our website or you can call us at 651-296-3353.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, we talked a little bit about in 2023, you filed a lawsuit against Meta, I believe, under kind of similar circumstances, other states as well. I was kind of going back yesterday and looking to see if there were any updates on that. I guess my question is, when something like this happens, you're suing TikTok, you're suing Meta, do you expect results from it, or does it kind of turn into, like, good intentions turn into something symbolic? What do you think we can actually see from some of these lawsuits?
Well, lawsuits are designed to get results. They do take some time, though. I mean, there are lawsuits that have been going on for literally years, and nowadays that's not unusual. And there's some that are over and resolved within a few months. But the results we are expecting are what we call injunctive relief, Amy. What that means is that we're asking them to stop doing something or to start doing something. They have to comply with Minnesota law. They have to stop deceiving consumers, and they have to disclose the harms that are likely to happen if the product isn't used in the best way. They have to start doing that. Just like cigarettes have warning labels, they need to have something similar to that. And so we expect that will happen. They also have to compensate people for the losses and help the state of Minnesota fund people who are addicted to this product and help them get off of it, just like cigarette makers did years ago, and vapors are doing right now.
Yeah, people are interested. So your office did some investigating after the national the investigations where Congress ended up banning TikTok. I believe your office did some of your own, and some of the things that you found specifically here in Minnesota were really
we did.
Pretty eye-opening. So, just to set the stage for people, because they might be like, well, I thought it was banned. Yeah, banned, and then it's been on hold, and it's just been sort of deferred sorry, that's probably not the technical term, but it's been on hold now while new owners take over, and that's the stipulation here. If it's picked up and bought by a company that everybody's happy with and good to go, I mean, is part of the kind of the stipulation here that you have to have these things in place? We need more control over these security features, that kind of thing, or how do you see that playing out with new owners?
Well, let me tell you, Amy, I don't care who owns it. I mean, I may care, I might have my own individual opinion, but that's not really what this is about. This is about no matter who owns it, they have to advise people about the dangers of the way this product can be used and abused. They have to change the algorithm so that it's not as addictive. They have to comply with the requirements of Minnesota Department of Commerce, and they have to comply with the laws that govern commercial sales and things like that. That's what they have to do, and they have to compensate people. So I'm not here to say who should own TikTok. I may have my own opinion, but that's not any better than anyone else's. What I am in a position to do is make them obey Minnesota law, consumer laws about deceptive and misleading advertising and practices, and I'm in a position to make sure they comply with the laws that require them to be subject to examination and oversight by anybody who's going to be doing monetary transactions like TikTok is doing. That's what I'm here for. So I'll let other folks debate who should own TikTok. Whoever owns TikTok, they got to do what the law requires.
Yeah, well, some of the things that you laid out in the suit, I didn't get a chance to read everything, but it was eye-opening, and you know too, as a parent of teenagers, you know in your gut, you feel it, like this is not good, they're spending too much time on it, and you kind of go through the scenarios in your head of why it's so bad, but then to kind of recognize some of the under current stories that are happening as well with transactions and things like that. It's really scary for everybody.
Well, Amy, thank you for speaking as a parent. We had a junior high school teacher with us when we announced the suit yesterday, and this teacher was saying, look, we're at the point where we gotta pay phones because we can't conduct class because of these features and because of the dangers and the damage that TikTok is doing. This is a hazard in the classroom and at home, and just for parents who may recognize some behaviors in their kids that they're concerned about, just know that TikTok Live's unlicensed virtual currency system encourages excessive and in some cases exploitive spending, and these filters. I don't know if you've seen the filters, Amy, where you have, they'll narrow your face, they'll brighten your eyes, they'll make you look in a way that is different from how you really look. And then this has been shown in many young people to really encourage bad body image, to cause them low self-esteem, self-harm, disordered eating, and these are all bad things for kids. And so, we're here to protect our kids, and so I really appreciate you having us on to talk about this case.
Yeah, I mean, it's no fun when I go home and tell my kids, get off of it, or I set those times. They don't like it, and but man, it's just you have to do what you can. I know it's overwhelming for parents too to think about all of this stuff. It's some of it's not tangible, so it just doesn't seem as real. But when you put it down like that, and with all the data, and we don't even know what we don't know. I mean, the effects of this stuff on kids a year from now, 10 years from now, my gosh, we don't know. We just don't know. So
digital nicotine.
Yeah. It's crazy. Thanks for spending some time jumping on here last minute with us and walking us through some of that lawsuit. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Amy. Have a good day.
All right. Take care. All right. Bye.